What is up, everybody? Joseph here with my co-host,
Anea.
Welcome to Rad Parenting. We have an amazing show for you tonight. A unique show. I love how I threw tonight in there, even though we're taping during the day.
Yeah. Where did that come from, Joe?
Do you think we'll ever do a show at night?
I hope so.
No, like I want to do.
I'm not as sharp at night.
Okay.
So it could be like I won't have anything intelligent to say.
No. Well, you know what? Whenever you've done the events that you do, the fundraiser for girl empowerment and all of that. And
true. There's an adrenaline rush and a little bit of wine thrown in.
I was going to say that the one that I was a part of at the Improv in Los Angeles, it was, first of all, I got to say this, it was packed. Like, knows how to fill
maybe have you come up though, for the next one. Okay, we'll get to
We're
that
introducing him before you even mention him. Just so you guys know, our guest is here, and if you hear rumbling, it's his stomach, and we'll tell you all about that. He's brought Pepto-Bismol with him, the whole 9 yards.
We've never had that before.
We've never had that.
When a guest comes into the studio with their own Pepto-Bismol.
Maybe I think that's why it's the evening, because I always see this guy in the evening, but maybe we will get him to do one of your events.
Yeah.
Rad Parenting guest today is my good friend Bill Dawes. He is an actor. He is a comedian. He's a father, which I'll lead right into that, is that we've been doing stand-up together at the Laugh Factory here in Hollywood and a couple other places. Bill was one of the first comedians that I met when I first started doing comedy about 7 years ago. He was super, super cool to me, super, super funny. And then he disappeared for a little while because he went out to New York and was part of a Broadway play. And it was rad because I was
impressive.
like, you know what it really was? And I know he's sitting right next to me right now. I was impressed because doing stand-up is one thing, but like acting and like on Broadway, and then I see photos of him, like I would go on and like I kind of totally trolled like his thing a little bit, like in a positive way. But I was like, wow, like he's legit. Like all of us are up there telling jokes, and he's a funny comedian. But when I saw the acting aspect of it, like my whole vibe of him changed.
He's a truly talented human being.
Exactly. And one night we were backstage, and when we started doing Rad Parenting, I got a text from him right away, and he was like, "Hey, I'd like to be a guest on your show." I thought he was joking because he has never talked about kids and we never had those kind of connections.
Right.
And he goes, "You know, I'm a dad, right?" And I go, "Yeah, sure you are." Like I thought he was joking. So then we start talking, and one night we're backstage at the show, and he goes, I go, "Man, that was funny. You sent me that text, and I don't know how I could have you on the show. You're not a dad." He goes, "No, I am a dad. I have a daughter." And I go, "Really? When?" He goes, "Well, I had a daughter from a one-night stand." And I'm like, "What?" And we're literally getting ready to go on stage, and I'm like, "This is like an intense conversation." And then I had to ask him, "Are you, how connected are you with you?" And he goes, "I just spent the weekend with her up in Berkeley. She's going to school." And then we just opened up this whole thing. I was like, "Wait a minute, one-night stand, and you've had this journey with her the whole ride?" He goes, "Yeah." And
Only on Rad Parenting do we find all these various incarnations of parenting and how there are so many different ways to do it, so many different contexts.
Yeah.
And we can always still do it.
And going back to the emails, which thank you guys all for sending them. There was an email recently on there from a dad that had just found out he's going to be a father. Same situation, which we're going to let Bill take it over here in a second. But it made me go, you know what? This would be a good guest to have on the show, because it was such a situation that you usually go, wait a minute, how would you make that work? Bill did make it work.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, Bill Dawes.
Hi.
How's your stomach? Is your stomach okay?
I think it'll hold. I think it'll hold through the...
Bill just finished
Bill
finished what? 8 dates in Reno, 2 shows a night.
Yeah.
And you're saying that it's not alcohol poisoning.
Maybe the altitude and casino food.
Yeah.
I don't know.
How about this? Just being in Reno.
Just being in Reno. Yeah, just Reno.
I don't even think
hermetically sealed in those hotel rooms with no windows that open because people jump out and kill themselves.
Yeah.
They'd be stuck in there.
So welcome to the show. Thank you so much for making this happen. You can take it over from here. I set it up.
On a cold, wintry night. Well, so I'll try to be quick with the backstory, as quick as possible with the backstory. But basically, when I was just out of graduate school, a wee young actor in New York, and I was doing a play, a talent manager came along, was like, "Hey, I think you're the next big thing, and I want to fly to LA and make you a star." Flew me to LA. When I was there, things were a little tense. I realized maybe this is wrong. And she said, I don't want to manage you. I want to date you. I said, this is screwed up. I got to get
The
out of here.
talent manager?
Yeah, yeah.
Scandalous.
So I said, can I get out? By the way, can I curse in this show?
We
No,
can't curse.
we can't curse.
Yeah.
We're
Good. I
so
haven't
good.
yet. I'm
Okay,
good.
you haven't
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
Wait, so
I'll
start
be
this
good.
over.
Right.
The talent agent flew to New York only to say, I'm a talent agent,
She
but
is.
I wanna
What I'm really
She was
interested in is
managing Matt LeBlanc and Thomas Jane and other people. And then I said, I got to get out of here. Well, this is going to be interesting then.
Uh-oh.
So I go back to New York. I don't see her for 3-4 months.
Wait, hold on. Wait, so she puts this in front of you, and what do you do with it?
I say I have to leave. I can't be
Oh.
here. This is
Wow.
bad. This can't,
Okay.
Got
I'm
it.
a young wee lass.
You brought me here on false pretenses.
Yeah, how
Why-
dare you?
You wicked, wicked woman.
Where are these accents
I
coming
don't
from,
know.
guys?
Whenever you're telling a scandalous story, you have to put
Okay.
on a British accent. So anyway, so she comes to New York, and then we talk in my apartment, and we kind of fight. And for some reason, the fighting led to fornication.
Wow.
And that was it. And I don't see her. And I was really mad at her. So it was definitely one of those hate-filled nights.
Yeah.
That sounds bad to say.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Passionate.
So,
Passionate. Yeah.
Then I think 4 months later, I get the call.
Yeah. Tell me the call.
Wait,
call.
so zero contact for those 4
Oh
months?
yeah, because it was basically like, I don't like you don't like me, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Blah. But this happened.
Yeah, we did this thing.
We
and...
have this crazy attraction. Get out of here and done.
Okay.
Done.
So she called me. She said that she was pregnant, and so my first thought was like, well, who is the child mine? And she said, it's one of 3 people.
Uh-oh.
Now,
Oh,
she
is,
was-
is this where Matt LeBlanc is going to...
Bing 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 bing. Winner winner chicken dinner.
Oh my gosh.
So I thought, I said, well, can you get
Scandalous.
a test? Now this is 2000 or whatever, so you can't really get a test then.
No,
They didn't
you
They
can't
didn't have
do
the same. You
paternity
do
test at
amnio,
that
which
point.
amnio at that point was kind of dangerous. Maybe and she didn't want to do it. So she was convinced that it was her friend Matt LeBlanc's child.
Okay.
So
But she thought she would let
first
you
she
know
called me,
just
let
in
me
case.
know. I said, please check. And then she called me, I think a week later, and said, it's not yours, it's Matt. The dates of conception don't match, blah, blah, blah. I know in my heart it's his, blah, blah, blah. Then I don't hear anything for a year, a little over a year and a half, maybe.
So baby is born at that point.
Baby's born.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
And then I get a call from her. I think the thing that she said, which was really funny, she said, this is really weird, and only a few people get this. I used to be a professional breakdancer. And I was really good at. I was really good at
it just keeps
I was
getting
really
better.
good at the worm.
Can I tell you right now,
Yeah.
all the things that I had in your intro were so bad because I should have said in the studio with me, actor, comedian, break dancer, theatrical legend. Okay, keep going. So you were really good at what part?
She called. I mean, I don't know why. I totally forgot. She said, "My daughter came out doing the worm," which is her way of saying that this is your daughter. I know, very odd. And I said, "Well," and then I didn't believe her at that point. I said, "I don't know if I believe anything you say anymore."
Sure.
So, I think I might have even hung up the phone, like no hablo inglés. And,
Yeah.
and she called me a couple months later and said, look, I'll pay for a DNA test. So that's what happened. It was arranged. The guy came up. It was like the adjustment bureau. He had like a briefcase and a
Wow.
fedora. And
Swabbed
came in,
your mouth.
Swabbed my mouth. And that was one of the scariest. I do a joke about that. I don't really joke about much in my act, but I do a joke where I had a friend who was like, oh, man, that's like getting an AIDS test. I'm like, what are you talking about? One of those tests was positive. Your life is basically over. The
Yeah.
other one is just AIDS. So,
Oh my God.
Okay, if
Okay,
we,
that's
if
the
we
joke.
lost some of our listeners, please
was
come
the
back.
joke at the
Bring them
time.
back in.
don't worry. I'll turn around. I'll go all the way to Mordor and then back to the Shire.
Okay.
Okay.
As Patton Oswalt says. So, so I was obviously very scared. I didn't know what to do, and I waited. Before I got the result back, I got a photograph sent to me of my daughter, Olivia, and it literally looked like a baby picture of me. My daughter's a ginge, by the way, kind of like you.
Aw.
It looked like a baby picture of me. My parents were like, do you really need to wait for the results?
Wow. How were your parents through the whole ride?
I've always been surprised at how great my parents are pretty much along the path of my life. because my dad's very Republican and conservative. My mom is, very emotional. So I always expect the worst from both of them, and they're always really amazing. I don't know why I'd never expect that, but they always surprise me. So they were actually like, because I kind of in the beginning, I kind of hid it from them until I really, really knew. And I think there was a point, before I go into the idea of like what a rad parent I am, there was a point where I said, can I deny this? Is this something in my heart and soul and mind that I can actually just say, okay, she had a lot of money at the time.
Yeah.
She obviously had managed Mel LeBlanc and Friends. She had a lot of,
I was just going to say, I'll never be able to watch Friends the same right now. Like,
how you doing?
Dude.
So
that had to be on your mind.
So I don't know what happened, but I think at the beginning, she said, "This is your." I don't know what happened, but I think at the beginning he maybe thought Olivia was his daughter, and then got a. I mean, she looks like me, but with red hair.
Yeah,
and prettier, obviously. But anyway, so it took. My parents were okay with it. They were like, "Hey, just we'll do what we can to support you." And I think I kind of
go back to that part you were just saying when I interrupted you about asking yourself, "Can I deny this?" Did you? Like, explain that again.
Yeah, there was a point. I think first of all, I was always one of these guys who, in life, I was a little bit of a golden boy. You know what I mean? I was like number 2 in high school. I went to Princeton. I graduated cum laude aerospace engineering. My first job out of graduate school was a Broadway gig.
Is this all on your Tinder account? Because that might be why all those women came out to the show.
I was just
this
gonna
is very
say,
impressive.
Yeah, if I had a Tinder account, no one's coming.
But so here's so there's a little bit of like, I'm like, this is my life. Like, things work out for me. That's how things go. My first job is a lead and a guest star in a TV show. My first did everything. So when this happened to me, it wasn't part of this BS plan that I concocted in my head about how my life is supposed to unfold. And because for a reason, I didn't have the tools to really know how to deal with that. My mechanism was just to shut down and just kind of, I think for about 2 years, I was a zombie, just trying to figure out and not really claiming it, not really denying it, just kind of sort of at the whim of whatever.
This was the first thing in your life.
Pregnant with the idea, which honestly, in fairness to men, I think there's a difference in the experience of bringing a child into the world, because where as a woman, you feel like I knew when I was pregnant with my daughters, like 4 weeks into it, like I could feel my body changing, which begins that relationship of like, okay, so I'm bringing this other human being into the world that's got this like crazy connection to me, in a variety of ways. But even for a father that would have been present for the whole pregnancy, you hear from a lot of men like, I was afraid I wasn't going to connect with this kid. Like, how do I know? And then all of a sudden he or she arrives and you go, oh, wow. Like, now I get it. But I can't imagine what it would have been like for you to have years go by. I mean, initially, a year and a half she was? Before you even knew about her. Yeah. And then processing after that, sort of being pregnant. That's why I said being pregnant with the idea of like, oh, I'm responsible for this other human being that's now in the world.
Yeah. And I remember I met her I guess she was probably a year and 8 months when I met her for the first time.
Wow. What was that like?
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy because she was.
Where was it? Describe that.
It was in. The woman had I should mention her name probably. She had an apartment in New York at the time.
The mother.
The mother did. I guess it was a friend of a friend. So I went down to see. I think I was with my parents too. I went down to meet my daughter, and I guess she was maybe 9 months. She was still in diapers, because I had to change her diaper like a couple times. But this time. I remember she kind of looked at me at one point, and then she just put her hand to my face and touched my face, and then kind of put her hand down, and then went back to playing. And I remember that was the moment like she's getting. It was, I mean, it's pretty obvious. So after that, I kind of figured, well, I can kind of, like I said, the mother had money. And I said, well, I can be a part of her life and not necessarily have to be the guy paying for everything. She's taken care of as long as I'm okay. The problems ensued. Not to buck the blame, but the mother had, she has a mental condition that she's since taken care of. But for many years, she was bipolar and borderline. and it resulted in her not speaking with her family, with my family. She's very smart, very charismatic, so she would galvanize people into her cause, into her victimhood, and then all of a sudden she would torch it, and everyone would disappear. So her and my daughter were kind of moving around quite a bit, and at this time I was trying to figure out how to find a place in her life, and I talked to a lot of different people. There were lots of schools of thought. There's my acting and life mentor was like, look, you just have to acknowledge. You don't have to be dutiful. As a parent, you don't have to be dutiful, but you have to acknowledge it. Because there's still that part of me that said, can I just wait till she's 18? And then there are people who are like very AA and very program, like you have to show up, you have to step up, you have to be there and do what you can and every step of the way and blah, 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 blah. Like the CrossFit people, like go.
Yeah.
So I
I love the AA CrossFit.
I
parallel.
like the acting mentor. He's like, what did he say? You have to.
He said
acknowledge it.
You have to acknowledge, but you don't have to. You don't necessarily have to be dutiful, because he had a child as well. So I kind of, for years, I kind of bounced between the two, trying to figure out how to do it. And I found that the more I tried to really be hey, let me show up, and let me be father,
CrossFit.
show up, and I'm there, and I'll pick her up from school. The more I did that, it kind of encroached on something in the mother that made her very uncomfortable, and it resulted in a lot of conflict that didn't need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But if I completely disappeared, what would happen? The mother would be okay. She might be in a relationship. Things might be good. And the minute she would have an episode or bipolar or whatever it was, and everything would go tee up on a ditch, she would come to me and go, "You deadbeat, where have you been? It's because of you," and blah, blah.
How would your daughter during that time react? Okay.
Yeah, what is her age during this? What the period that you're describing right now? How old is Olivia during this time?
I'm jumping around. So
when you're showing up, going, "I'm here, I'm there." How old is she?
When I first really, really wanted to be that guy, I would probably say she was in sixth grade, sixth or seventh grade.
And how would she react to that guy?
She was great. We've never had a bad day together. There were times I picked her up from school or whatever it was, and she'd be very, very quiet and withdrawn in the beginning because I don't know what her mother said about me. I always made a commitment. I said, I will never say one bad word about her mom to her. I will never say anything. Won't say. And I knew her mom would say bad things about me because she would say it to me on the phone with Olivia in the car. I mean, she eventually got to the point. So fifth, sixth grade, Olivia was very quiet. She was very cool. And then I think this was like when she was in sixth grade, maybe seventh grade. I felt like maybe I should tell her a little bit about how things have come to be, like how I'm her father.
Oh wait, she didn't know?
She didn't know. She never got the story.
Interesting.
I know that she just felt that I was kind of not there a lot.
Yes.
She kind of wondered. I'm sure she'd heard things from her mother that maybe I was a deadbeat or whatever it was. So I felt like I had to tell her certain things. And some of the things involve the fact that my parents were involved with the mother's life, and she called my parents evil and POSs and get out of my life, you're the devil. And then my uncle, and she'd call the same thing. Like she just would, and also I just wanted to make sure that, hey, I wasn't, me and your mother were in a couple and then had you and then I left you. This was like kind of surprised me that I've been kind of handling it maybe not as well as I liked. And I never forget this. I said, do you want to know like the real story about like, and she said, it doesn't matter as long as we're cool. She was like seventh grade when she said it, maybe sixth grade.
Okay, second time I've almost
When's her
cried
birthday?
in this show.
January 11th.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out what sign she is.
Second
As long
time.
as we're cool.
Second time I almost cried in this show. Do you know what the first time was?
Joseph, when?
Think about it. What did he say? When his daughter touched his face.
Oh, in this show.
Yeah.
Twice in this. Okay, got it.
Twice
yes.
in this show, almost cried.
Joseph.
Yeah, eyes welling up.
So
Can't look
sweet.
at Bill Dawes right now. Give me some Pepto-Bismol, please. I need to go to Reno.
No, that was Evelyn. Yeah, I think she was sixth grade. She said, "As long as we're cool, it's okay." She's really always really self-possessed and really amazing.
I mean, do you ever feel that you do not have enough time in the day to do what you're supposed to get done? You're going to work. You're maybe trying to hit the gym, but you forgot that. Oh, I got to pick so and so up from daycare. Oh, I got to get my dad over to his doctor's appointment. Oh, I wanted to pick up the house before I left. Wow, check it out. How am I going to get everything done? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. Go to care.com. Care.com. Care.com is the world's largest digital marketplace for finding and managing family care. That is right. Family care needs can be unpredictable. You got sick kids. You need someone to stay home. Man, both parents are out there trying to make a living. Your kids get sick. Oh, who's going to stay home? Who's going to miss out on that cash? Now you go to care.com and they'll have someone for you that can look after your kids. Don't stress your life away. Seriously, most working parents worry about their kids every minute of the day. You're more at ease and more focused when you know your kids or your parents or even your pets are well cared for. Best part is this, care.com provides access to a variety of background check options you can purchase to help make sure that you're making the best hiring decision. That's my favorite part right there. They're letting you know there's a million different things for you to check out on the background check options so you know who's going to be there with your kids or with your parents or with your pet taking care of the situation. Care.com. Check it out now. If you go to care.com right now, you ready for this? To save 30% off care.com premium membership, visit care.com/rad parenting when you subscribe, and you're going to get 30% off. Like I said, the world's moving a million miles an hour. You just want to take care of your kids and all the responsibilities. Let care.com help.
Well, I'm also gonna throw it out there that I think that part of it would have been that having a mother with that degree of instability at the time, you know, when as human beings we're built when we face that kind of adversity or an unsettling situation, we grow these inner muscles, I'm sure, which have grown for her to be able to navigate having a mother like that. And so as much as we want to shelter our children, isn't it amazing how sometimes like the lot that they get in life kind of helps to build things in them that wouldn't have otherwise been there had everything just been rosy and the two of you had been together or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm still wondering how it's going to manifest into her adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I still have worry about that, and we can get to that in a bit.
She says as long as we're cool.
Yeah,
I don't really mind.
know. So I never talked to her about the whole situation regarding, you know, like, you know, Matt LeBlanc thought he was.
I knew you were going to say that.
I didn't. So and then one other time I talked to her about her mom was probably when she was graduating 8th grade. Her mother had an episode and like ran a car into a tree and was like hospitalized and basically was gone for 3 months, and she lived with her neighbors. So, and I went to her 8th grade graduation. Her neighbor's like, you know, Olivia's been living with us for 3 months. And I was like, I had no idea that was the case.
Yeah. So there was no regular contact between you and Olivia for you to have known that? Sorry, did that sound super judgmental?
No. What it sounded
there was a time, and this is part of the realization that I came to. There was a time, I would like I said, between 6th, 8th, 9th grade. There was a time I'd let me get there and show up, and blah blah blah, and then what would happen was
pushed away.
Like it'd get really aggressive, and then I would kind of go, hey. And in retrospect, there was probably this weird small part of me that I don't like to acknowledge that was probably thinking, oh, good, now I don't have to take responsibility because how could I?
Yeah, I've been pushed away, so there I'm doing what you told me to do.
Yeah,
but in reality, there's this voice in your head that says, hey, you should be still doing maybe not CrossFit guy, but
so
at least
I didn't know. So at that point, so everything kind of came to a head around
8th grade graduation.
Yeah, that was really bad. We got through that. She kind of got better. Then it went bad again. In 2012, 2013, she had another episode, ran another car into another accident with my daughter at this time. Oof. And I flew my daughter to New York, and she stayed with me, and I looked into taking custody of my daughter full time.
How old is she at this point?
14.
Okay.
So, and then...
What was that like? Was that the first time she lived with you?
First time she'd stayed with me for that long.
Longer than a visit. What was that like?
It was pretty cool.
14-year-old in New York City.
I know.
Living with Dad.
Cool.
What's Dad doing at that point? Are you touring, comedy? Are you doing?
I was doing off Broadway play.
Okay.
That she came and saw. And at one point, my character rips his shirt off. She's like, "Dad, I wish you told me you ripped your shirt off. It's so embarrassing." Because she came and saw it with her friend. At one point, her and her friend went. At 14, I said, "Well, you can kind of leave, go to the corner store together if you're going to, make sure." And they went down to Shake Shack, which is 43rd and 8th, which is like the murder capital of New York City. I was like, "What the heck? You guys went to Shake Shack?" It's like right next to the Show World strip club.
Exactly. I know exactly what it is.
Oh my God! Don't ever go there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
was she excited to live with you though during that time?
Yeah, and she had to go back to school, and I remember she said she didn't want to go back. She wanted to stay with me, And I looked into New York schools. I talked to a family law attorney, and one of the things they said, you can't. Getting custody of a daughter from a mother who doesn't want to relinquish custody is next to impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And does she have a felony? It was like, yeah. Does she have a violent felony? No. It was basically that cut and dry.
Wow.
Unless she's a violent felon, then sorry. Even if they were living in a car, which is something that was possible, and I went and I took her, then there'd be an Amber Alert.
Yeah.
Because we never went through the court system with this, So the big thing that changed.
So the mom had sole legal custody.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess there is something along the lines of if you've acknowledged paternity and there's some sort of, you can't then be denied paternity. So
right, you have
never
some
went through
rights,
the court
but in
system.
terms of custody, it's not.
Yeah, and like I said, there was parts where she was in good behavior and she was in good health, where it seemed like it might work out. And there was one time, there was probably about a 5-year period where she was in a relationship and working, and it looked like this would be a very tenable situation, and then went all bad. But what really changed is I ended up doing a weekend seminar, which was like a life coach seminar. I don't know if I'm allowed to name the program.
Yeah.
But it was Landmark Forum.
Mm-hmm.
Which someone kind of duped me into doing. I was like, I don't want to do this garbage. But I went. And a lot of it was about taking responsibility. Look at something in your life, take responsibility for it where you never have.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of examined the fact that, have I taken responsibility for my daughter? And was I using the mom's tripolarity as an excuse to not take responsibility? And I had to really look at that and really kind of... So I just started crying and weeping and just thinking about how many years I'd made myself a victim of this. I was such a victim, and look what was done to me. I was getting articles written, I was on Broadway, and then this happened. It set my career, and this is why I'm in Reno. No, but anyway. But I really made myself, and I was just weeping and crying, and I was trying to figure out at this point how to really negotiate a relationship. I guess at this point she's 13 or 14. It's right after this happened. And this guy said, or no, I guess it was actually before that. But I was crying. I was like, oh, God, what a nightmare. Like, he was just looking at me, you're a nightmare. And I said, I don't know what to do. I have a daughter. He goes, okay, well, what can you do? I don't know. Well, can you send money? I mean, yeah, but I don't have a lot of money. Okay, how much can you send a month? I don't know, maybe $250. Okay, you can send $250 a month. Yeah, but she won't let me. Okay, can you send it at the same time every month? Yeah, I can send it to him, but she won't let me see my daughter. Okay, can you say the 15th of every month, $250? Yeah, I could, but can you send it with a card to your daughter saying, hey, how are you? I love you, thinking about you. Check. Yeah, but that doesn't mean. Can you do that? Yeah. Well, just do that. But shut up. Just do it, and watch your life change. Every month, a card, check, $250. Nothing else. So, but she won't let me see you. Just do it. Just shut up. Get out of here. Go. Do it. Watch your life change. And that's really what happened. In a nutshell, that's what happened. I just started sending. I don't think I did the first month, but I started writing a check with the card. And the first month was like $250. You think that's all you owe me, you piece of shit? Because I was before the sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. That's a quote. That's a quote.
Because before then, it was very much about, she wants to go to space camp. I was like, well, here's $1,200 I would give her. She wants to do this after school. Well, here's $450. So I'd give money, very sporadic.
Right.
Over the time. Sometimes it'd months where there'd be nothing.
Yeah.
She was doing well in a relationship, and then all of a sudden, it's, oh, you need 1,200. Well, here you go.
Right.
So I felt like I was doing something, you know. But then a year would pass, and I wouldn't give any money. So this consistency, I just started doing it. The first month was, you're garbage. You think this is anything. Who cares? You owe me much more than that. Second month, same thing. Third month, I didn't hear anything. Fourth month, fifth month, do you want to see your daughter? So that's what continued. After that, I just
Wow.
kept sending the money, sending the cards, and then I got my relationship with my daughter back. And this was actually before it went bad, but I was able to kind of
Before she came to live with you.
Yeah.
In New York. Yeah.
Yeah, this is before. And then, but after she came to live with me, I was able to, so funny because I actually did Airbnb, and I was able to get enough money to get a place for my daughter and mother in Malibu, where she's going to high school. So I was able to get them a nice little, like, 1-bedroom in Malibu with the money I got from Airbnb, and that got her through high school.
Wow.
And now she's a full scholarship at Berkeley.
Full scholarship at
That's
Berkeley.
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And so how often, so you started this monthly thing, which I understand has all kinds of implications in terms of your sense of it being a committed, regular act on your part.
Yeah.
Her, both the mother and the daughter, I don't know, to the extent that your daughter knew that those cards were coming, was she actually getting them? So she was having a regular...
Yeah, I think she was.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure she was.
And so where has that taken you? Did it create normalcy in terms of regular physical contact and seeing each other, or being in regular communication, or?
Yeah, I think that the way that, because this happened before. Yeah, I've seen her a lot more in the past 4 or 5 years than I probably saw her before then. I don't think a year ever went by where I didn't see her. But for example, this year I've seen her. I've gone up to Berkeley 3 times, and I'm a little bit worried about her in Berkeley.
Yeah.
She dyed her hair pink.
She's at Berkeley. That's what you got to do.
She's a beautiful ginger.
Yeah.
But she's got her hair pink. She's starting wearing a little bit of eyeliner.
Good.
All right, we'll
Yeah.
see. But she's really amazing. But it's more regular now, yes, than it was before then.
The question I gotta ask you is, so there's some dads or a dad to be that's listening to the show, or even a mom that's like, wow, this situation he's describing is what we're about to embark on. Or a dad that's like, oh my gosh, yeah, I everything he's talking about, I'm going through. And what would you say to the dad? Because I gotta say, I think a lot of people, and you admitted it, that when the communication was turned off from the mother, hey, we don't need you here, that you're like, oh, okay, try my best later, and I think there'd be, some people that are listening to the show that maybe might be in that spot of like, hey, I tried everything I could do. And, but right now they're listening to you and your story. And then boom, you just put a period at the end of, now she's at Berkeley, full scholarship. And I visit her and she's got pink hair, and then like, wow, like that journey is so different than I think a lot of people expected you to tell us right now. So you have the ears of someone that's at the beginning of this journey. What would you say to them?
They're probably going to talk to hundreds of people the way I talk to hundreds of people. I've talked to people who put children up for adoption, who had kids they never saw again. And everyone finds ways to justify whatever life decision they make. That's the right way. And you can see in their eyes whether or not they're telling the truth, or whether they know they're telling the truth.
Yeah.
But I guess the way I look at pretty much everything in life is, at the end of the day, there's one rule. It's the golden rule. What you do unto others, there's variations of it, right? If you had a father or a mother, you'd want to know them. I think anyone would. And people go, I'm okay with it. I'm okay that I'm adopted. But everyone I know who's adopted has this desire. And if they don't have a desire, they have an anti-desire. And they're like, I don't care. Screw them. They left me and blah, 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 blah. But there's something there. So my feeling was, of course, a lot of it had to do with the fact that I want to know my daughter, might be my only offspring I have, but also this girl should know who her father is. That's just right. And And like Jeff said, my acting mentor, I don't think you have to be the most dutiful father in the world, but I think if you don't acknowledge it, I think that's just going to hurt everyone. And I think there's a space between dutiful and acknowledging too, where you can just be consistent and show up. And that doesn't mean you have to say, I'll pick her up and CrossFit and bless and hashtag YOLO and hashtag God and all that stuff. But you have to kind of, in some way, let her know that you're there. And it could be $100 a month or whatever it is, or just a card a month. But I think there has to be some acknowledgement.
What you did is that you allowed her to be able to not have a blank when it came to who's your father.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that question. All right, let's move on to the next thing. You were able to. You said, you know what? I'm gonna give you a person and a face and a life attached to it, and it's me. Here I am.
And the other thing is, I think that there's a lot of drama, men v. women, regarding this, and I think that women often both parties feel very victimized in situations like this. And I have friends right now who have gone through divorce and they have kids, and they're trying to. And I think the most important thing to realize is nothing is ever personal, and people are just operating completely out of fear. So when this mother was attacking me and calling me the devil and deadbeat and all this other stuff, she's terrified because she has to raise this kid, and she also has an emotional life that, due to her condition, she's not able to completely figure out. So I would, you know what? Screw you. I'm a good guy, and I would fight it as opposed to go, okay, this is not about me. This is about her fear. And you can always just say, I'm not going to be a part of this conversation, and I'm hanging up. Boom. You don't have to. There's no. I've seen too many parents getting in abusive fighting things like, I'm here with your daughter at the corner, and I've overheard on the street, and it just makes me go, it never has to be that way. You just want to do what's best for your daughter. If you're operating from a place of ego or jealousy, you're in the wrong.
God, isn't it crazy? So like we've had so many parents on this show that are every day with their kids, and so many great guests on the show. And then you have Bill in here who figured out that whole scenario of what I think it was the very first show you and I ever did together. Anea, do you remember when you said you got to leave your ego at the door?
Yes.
And I told you, oh my gosh, like that is so hard to do.
Yep, not take things personally, even with a child, not taking things personally as a parent.
Yeah.
So if you were to summarize, like what, because I think that if I'm a parent listening to this, I'm wanting to know, like, was there something that you would have done differently, that you know better at this point in this very sort of unique and yet not unheard of journey, that a father that's maybe, his child is, 2 or 3, and he's like, okay, I really want to get this together as soon as possible.
Good
because
question.
if it could work out for you, I'd like to know how to do this sooner than later. So is there anything you would have done differently is the question.
I guess I might have just done exactly what I did with the card and the check, and maybe not the same amount. Maybe I would have just done, like I said, $100 in a card. If I'd done that consistently, because at the end of the day, that may seem like a lot, but if you do that once a month, how much money is that? That's nothing. And if I'd done that when she was a young child, it just, I don't know what the difference would have been. I'm not saying that it would have completely made the mother change or would have changed our relationship, because we're still talking about mental illness, which is the third rail. But I think that things might have cooled down a lot. I think that the consistency for both my daughter and her mother, she gave them some sort of guidepost or something that they felt that they were lacking.
Right.
So I think that the feeling of, hey, I'm there for you, it needs to be manifested somehow. And like I said, a card or that was the easiest thing in the world to do.
So that makes me think that it sounds to me like, okay, let me see if I can get this thought clear. So I think that we all do our best when we figure out what we are truly capable of. Like whatever the situation is, like here's what I think I'm capable of. If I want to stretch that another 10%, I'm probably where I should be.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is when a parent, even a mother or father, mother and father who are with their children on the day-to-day, take that to an extreme where they're like being self-sacrificing on behalf of their children, thinking that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And what it inevitably does is creates a resentment. It makes us less than we can actually be. And I think that what you're saying is in your particular scenario, there's something about figuring out truly what is the best that I am capable of under these circumstances to get, because the consistency gave, to your point, the mother and the daughter a sense of, okay, here's what we can count on, and then we can arrange ourselves around that, as opposed to having this wild card of like, is he in or is he out? You know, what can we count on? Is he good? Which for your daughter, sadly, I could see that there would have been to have a lack of consistency with you, and then also a lack of consistency with her mom, just because of the mental illness would have been, you know, a very difficult to navigate for her to not have anything solid that she could count on. And so your consistency provided some of that, which I think is really an important part of parenting and creating that foundation for our kids.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the communication between me, it was also the age of the child is important too, because now with Facebook and everything, I guess you can contact, they still have to be 14, right? To be on Facebook.
I don't know.
But there was a couple years where I only had access to my daughter through the mother, which is where things got a little tricky.
Yeah.
And actually, I wrote a pilot. If there are any producers out there, called "My Daughter's My Facebook Friend," which is based on, it's sort of based on my. In this one, the daughter's 7, and she comes and finds me. She uses like Foursquare or whatever, and like finds her dad, who didn't know that he was a dad.
Mm-hmm.
And because when I was out of touch with my daughter at one point, when she was around this time, 8th grade, 13, she friend requested me on Facebook, and that was kind of one of our first forays back into communication. So anyway, that was So part of the situation, I see a lot of dads going through the situations. They want to be in contact with the daughter, but they want nothing to do with the mother. And I think that that's understandable, and but I think there's always a way to still show that you're there and to acknowledge them. And even if you're going to send even if you send cards every day and a check every day, whatever it is you want to do, and the mother says, "Screw this guy," and puts it in a shoebox, the shoebox is going to be found.
Yeah.
Sooner or later.
Yeah. You know? And I think that you're committing to the thing. You have no control over what she does with that, what the mother has. What you have control over is how you show up in the world. And I think what I'm taking away from this is what children need in any context is some degree of consistency that they know they can count on. Yeah. And so what I think we're saying here today is whatever your role is in relation to your child, and especially in this sort of unique scenario, find a way that you can be consistent, that your child will know they can count on, and the rest will not necessarily fall into place like some magical little somebody's waving a wand, but at least if you can do that until your child is an adult and can make decisions for him or herself and figure out how you build your relationship from there, you've probably done the best you can under those circumstances.
Yeah.
I mean, the consistency, I think that's the word that is really left from this whole conversation. Was it at the beginning you weren't able to figure out a way to be consistent. Once you did, then the relationship started to connect and then grow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now you guys are where you are. Man, I got to thank you, Bill, so much for coming in and being so honest and transparent and really talking about something that I've never had a conversation with anyone like this about this type of topic.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and hopefully your relationship continues to grow, and I can't wait to meet your daughter, because I'll know your daughter she'll have pink hair.
I totally want to have a conversation with Olivia. I want to know. I want her perspective on all this.
I would love for you to meet her.
Yeah?
She's really amazing. She challenges me a lot.
I would love her to be on the show.
She's very much a feminist, and she's very much like, Dad, how dare you say that word?
Nice.
How dare you do that?
She'll get along really well. She'll get along with Anea. I mean, I don't know if it could ever happen, but we would love to have her on the show when she comes down to LA to visit you.
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be great. We've done that before, where we had a homeschool mom come in here, and she talked all about raising her children, in the homeschool network and everything like that. And then I said, hey, we want to have your son on. And he came on here. He was great, Phineas. We always talk about him.
Yeah, no, I think it would be great. I think it'd be really
would be great.
awesome to hear from her perspective what it was like to navigate.
And thank you
that
so much for
situation.
spending time with us and coming in and doing that. And I hope that some other dads and some other moms out there and some other parents that are possibly going through the same ride had an opportunity to hear another story of it turning out a different way than you might anticipate it going right now. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. Hey, with that said, I want to let you guys know, keep the emails coming. I know I say it each and every week. This show came out of an email from you guys, radparenting@gmail.com. Also want to thank you guys for all the reviews at iTunes. And I think we're out of here. And my name is Joe Sib.
And Anea Bogue.
And our guest.
Bill Dawes.
And we are out of here.
Late.